Hello everyone, thanks for joining me back on StubbleMeetsSteel. Well, this video is something completely different. I wanted to have everybody follow along with my Kamisori straight razor and straight razor journey. You know, I've had this for a little while and I kind of just started messing with it again. I had spoken with Doug, the owner of Adopted Acres, and he was kind enough to loan me a couple different straight razors. And you know, I have one of my own, and I think I had messed it up after it got sharpened. I believe, if I remember right, that I stropped it, and I think I just ruined the edge on it. So anyways, I hadn't really found one that I really enjoyed, and I was talking to Doug, and he wound up loaning me a few. And one of the ones that I really loved, ironically, was one of the cheapest ones that he loaned me. It was a gold dollar that was sharpened and reshaped by Strike Gold Shaves. Frank does an awesome job kind of contouring them, and he kind of takes the edges and the corners off of the blade to make it a little more forgiving. And so I really enjoyed that, and I've sent it back to Doug to resharpen for me because, again, I'm pretty positive I messed it up on the strop. I was, you know, going great for like 3 shaves, and then all of a sudden it was tugging and it just felt like crap. And so, you know, I'm pretty positive that I messed it up on the strop. And, you know, that's what this whole video series is going to be about is, you know, I've been using DE razors now for 3 years, not a ton. I know some of you guys are using your whole life, but my point is I've used 100 razors now. You know, I feel that I'm, you know, well versed and can use almost any DE razor as long as it's not too aggressive on my neck and stuff like that. But trying to get into straight razors is probably one of the most humbling, difficult things that I've tried in quite a long time. That said, I find anything in life that's very complicated or takes a lot of effort to really master, I feel the reward is that much sweeter. And I've heard other guys like Geo Fatboy and some others say that straight razor shaving, to really get quite proficient at it, takes about 100 shaves. And having barely dabbled in it myself, I'd have to agree. But it does get a little bit easier the more you do it and the more consistently you do it. I've been doing it about 2 to 3 times a week. And I noticed that when I keep consistent with that, you know, each shave I get a little more confidence. It feels a little bit easier. It feels like hand placement is a little bit easier. And so that's what this journey is about, is for me to share all my follies that I feel enough guys really don't talk about. You know, you watch Geo Fatboy and some of the other guys do, you know, Robert's classic shaving channel and a couple other guys, they use a straight razor like it's nothing, just whip it around your face. And my buddy Chris just got one and he was trying to learn to use it. And you know, he cracked me up because he had all the same issues that I feel all of us have, but isn't really talked about enough. And I wish I had the gold dollar just to show you, but when you're using a normal straight razor, you know, you have the scales as they're called, or the handle, and it sticks straight up. Well, as you're laying it this way, you're trying to look this way with your right eye, and sure enough, that handle is literally right in your field of view. So you're like trying to look behind it, in front of it, and it seems like, you know, again, we all watch the videos how to do it. You're like, oh, they just make it look pretty easy, and then you get it in your hand, and you're like, why does it feel like I'm always holding it wrong? I'm always putting out my face wrong. I always can't see around it. So it's not easy. And that's kind of why I messed a little bit. I'm like, I don't know, this isn't for me. And it was because I hadn't gotten a smooth shaving straight razor that I was really impressed by. To me, it was a whole bunch of work, and I didn't feel like, well, what's to be gained here? I'm getting a shittier shave than I can get with any of my DEs that I can just grab out of my collection and shave even blindfolded and get an easier, better shave. So like, what was the advantage? What am I missing here? And then when I finally tried that gold dollar that was sharpened up by Frank, he said he used a JNat stone on it. The edge on it was just incredible. It was really smooth and much smoother than a lot of DEs that I've used. And I had that, aha, now I get it moment. And so I've been kind of going down the rabbit hole. And so for today, I'm going to use this. This is a Feather brand Kamisori. It takes an Artist Club blade. And so this was one that another buddy had suggested, and I'll put his channel down below in the info section. And he suggested that these Kamisoris, as well as Just Shaves, you know, everybody feels that this is a great option because you can just put an Artist Club blade in it. I've used some of the ones that are just shavettes that take a half of a DE, or, you know, a split blade, and I don't like those as much. I felt that they lacked rigidity and it didn't have the plow through. I like the Artist Club much better. It has much more rigid, thicker blades, and I kind of like the longer foot path that the Artist Club blade gives you over a DE blade, so there's the other advantage there. It's basically just spring loaded. This one, you just push on the bottom here and it basically just spreads that open just enough, and the blade will just kind of fall out, and then you just kind of drop it in there and it just falls right into place. So super easy blade changes. You don't have to mess with the strop or stone or anything else. And I don't have the gold dollar right now. The next video I do, I'll use a conventional straight razor with the scales to show how hard it is to work around seeing through those different spots. And so that's what we're going to use for today's blades that I've got in it. It's the Kai Pro Touch MG. It's what they consider a guarded blade. I've also used the Feather Pro Guard blades, and I like those as well. I wound up giving those to a buddy, Lee, and I was gonna see, and he was gonna send some back so I could try some of those again. I've tried the Schick P30 in it and the Feather Professional. The P30 is definitely smoother for me than the Feather is, but it's a little bit much. It kind of irritates me sometimes. I have to be super careful with it, so I'll circle back to those when I get a little more experience under my belt here. But I've been enjoying the experience and the how complicated it is. It's like I said, it's humbling, but I think anything that humbles us gives us a lot to learn from, a lot of personal growth. And I think the reward, as I mentioned earlier, is that much sweeter when you finally get something down that's kind of complicated. And I also shave after work, so I'm never in a rush. I shaved before work for a long time, pretty much my whole shaving life. And ever since I got into DE shaving, I switched to shaving after work. I can get by where I'm clean shaven enough in the morning the next day. And so I'm not in a rush, is my point. For today's soap, I'm using a sample, same one I did yesterday, the A&E Ariana Evans Imperium Bay Rum. Really great Bay Rum. I had some left in the bowl, so I didn't want to waste it because I enjoyed it so much yesterday, and I figured it'd be a great soap to use today as well. So let's get into it. So one of the things I do like to do is I've got an Allen block sitting over here, and I kind of will wet my fingers and get them on the Allen block a little bit. And that helps to not only hold on to the razor a little bit better, but it also aids in skin stretching, which I'll show you in a second here. So for right here, you kind of pull up on your face a little bit and get it taut. And it's much easier with the Kamisori. It's just like a straight razor as far as you're gonna hold it flat against your face and then just angle it just a tiny bit till you feel it start to cut or start to bite a little bit. I'm gonna adjust the camera here a little bit. And so that's what we're gonna try to achieve. You know, if you go too far off angle, it'll stop cutting and just gets rougher and rougher. So let's try it out here. And yeah, with the straight razor that my buddy loaned me, the first time I used it, I cut myself on my ear right there, not being mindful of where the end of the blade was. I was trying to see around those scales, and I almost needed stitches. I'll just say it. So again, this is humbling. You know, you're using something that's super sharp, and you are the safety guard. There is no safety guard. What I've been doing and what most people will suggest is to start with just your face, as far as just your cheeks and upper face, and don't venture down the neck for like a couple of weeks. What I'm doing here is pulling the skin up, and you'll see when I let it go, now the skin is down below the jawline there, so it's much easier to navigate without having to go over that harsh ridge. Skin stretch again. now we'll go, get that out of the way. Get some more alum on my finger here. It's feeling very, very smooth today. Probably the smoothest shave I've had with it yet, honestly. Might be that soap. I do find the Kamisori style is definitely much easier to maneuver around the face for sure, without having to see around those scales. I find the handle positioning just a lot more natural. But I will say, the more I use the conventional straight razor with the scales, the less and less looking around the scales seem to be of a problem. It just became easier. My buddy Sean Staplefield's got an awesome straight razor channel. That's what he specializes in. He does some really cool ASMR stuff. I really like his the angle of his channel. He's got some good content put out. And he kind of did a series like this, and that's kind of what inspired me, was watching his videos. And I was talking to my buddy Lee with the, he's got some Kismet blades for a WEC straight razor, and he was the one saying, he's like, you know, you should do a series with all those follies and fumbles and trials and tribulations that most guys, like I said, don't really seem to mention or talk about. You know, it is really complicated, and it's tedious, and time, you know, it's tricky to get down for sure. It's not nearly as easy as I thought it was going to be. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do across the grain on my face, and then I'm gonna transition to a DE razor to do the against the grain on my neck. I haven't done that enough to where I feel confident doing it just yet. And that's one thing I'll say is you're better to take your time with this. I ventured down my neck the first couple of times I used this Kamisori because it was like, oh wow, this is much easier. I got a little cocky, and yeah, it looked like my first time shaving with tea. My neck was all tore up. I find it much harder to get that shaving angle just right on my neck than I do my face for sure. And, you know, I've watched a couple of different guys that have a little bit different techniques. I've seen guys that hold a conventional straight razor with the scales, like a Kamisori. There's another great channel, a Shaven Butcher. He's always got a funny joke at the start of his videos, but he holds a conventional straight razor like a DE, or not a DE, forgive me, like a Kamisori. All right, everybody. Well, that's the end of the show for today. I'm going to go ahead and finish up off camera with a DE razor. I just wanted to show you again that, this is where I'm confident with my abilities, thus far. And those little baby steps have kind of kept me in check. And I feel like it's been, it's been a slow growing process, but slow growth is fine by me. And I'm happy with that. So I'll let everybody follow along. Each time that I do a video, I'm going to show that I've kind of progressed a little bit skill set wise, or that's kind of the goal. So I hope everybody follows along, learned a little something, took a little something away of that. It's not very easy to pick up. The Kamisori style is a little bit easier than a regular straight razor, but even so, you definitely have to mind your P's and Q's. It's very, very complicated and tedious, in my opinion, to pick up. I've seen guys just pick it up and do a 3-pass shave, BBS, no problem. Well, good for them. It's not that easy, in my opinion, but don't be afraid to try it. And, if you take your time and just do little bits and little sections, you'll get better and better, and you'll pay in blood a lot less, and it'll be a pleasurable, fun experience to kind of learn. Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you like the new series, and I hope everybody follows along with me. Thanks for watching.